Here we are in Martyrs Memorial Museum of the Holocaust in Los Angeles, California, USA. And here with me is our director, Professor Michael Butkevich. I'm a Holocaust survivor, and I work voluntarily in this museum as a student, now going out to school, reaching out, and talking about the Holocaust. Professor Butkevich, tell me, we are taking a page from the history, the dark history from the Jewish people. And we choose a Jewish little girl with the name Anne Frank and try to find out something about her after she is gone. It's already over 40 years when she perished in concentration. Tell me why we took this little Jewish girl and we are interested in talking of her and going out in recalling her name. Why? What is so important?
Well, I think, Joe, that the first thing that we have to remember is that there were probably many Anne Franks that we don't know about. Many girls like her who had hopes and dreams and who had talents as writers, whose diary we never found, who perhaps never even had a chance to write down their thoughts and their feelings. Anne Frank, however, it was an accident of history, truly an accident of history, that we found. Her father came back and found her diary. Had it not been for that accident, had it not been for the fact that the diary remained and her father survived, we would never know about Anne Frank. And I think we need to remember that, because that brings the terror of that dark time closer to us. But the fact is that we have this diary, and it's a remarkable piece of writing during the Holocaust. The story of a girl who apparently had great talents as a writer and who was able to articulate her feelings as she and her family with other people lived in closely confined quarters, not knowing from day to day whether they would be found by the Nazis. And it's this intimate glimpse into a Jewish family in hiding and the personal way in which she writes that makes Anne Frank so special.
Now tell me, it's already a long time, generation has been gone, and we are still talking about Anne Frank, this little Jewish girl. Tell me, why we're talking about her? What is so important about her?
I think that one of the reasons that she has a place in our hearts is that young people are able to identify with her. I remember reading her as a teenager and being very moved, and I was keeping a diary, a juvenile diary myself, and even called it Kitty, as she called hers. And I think that young men and women, boys and girls, I simply identify with her.
Isn't she not only a symbol for the Jewish people, but only for the humanity?
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a spirit, unknown, unbroken spirit, believing in the humanity, regardless of her pain and suffering, regardless that she lost her freedom.
Absolutely, you're right. And the fact that her book has been translated in so many languages indicates, as you've pointed out, that she has become a universal symbol almost of faith in mankind, despite what she went through.
Well, I by myself was reading the diary of Anne Frank, and this inspired me too. I took an example for her, from her unbroken spirit and belief in the future. And this gave me, myself, courage to go on to finish a book which I finished, and I mentioned her in my book. Now tell me, going back to the time of her life, her short life, why she is a symbol of the belief. Why is this? We have so many, like you mentioned, diaries. We have so many cases of young people. Why her? Why we choose her?
Well, actually, we don't have that many diaries, and that's why her diary is so special. Of course, many survivors have written after the war, but we don't have many case studies of what it was like to live in occupied Europe, to be a Jew in occupied Europe. And she, of course, gives us a glimpse of that, of the sirens, of the terror of hearing footsteps and not knowing if it would be friend or foe. I think that the vividness of her descriptions gives us an insight into the Holocaust.
You know, the story of Anne Frank inspired me so that I travel all over the world trying to find data to this little documentary film channel. I went to Japan, I went to Holland, I visited their house, and in these places I find so many thousands and thousands miles away, in Japan, in Kyoto, I find the house of Anne Frank, in her name, in the people who have been inspired but have a broken spirit. And I would like that you go with me and visit the house in Kyoto, in Japan. This is my go take before.